As a candidate who's interviewing, there's so much pressure to really nail the interview, prepare, and do everything you can to put yourself in the best position to get a job offer. But we don't spend enough time thinking, well, should I actually accept this job offer? Is this going to be a good place to work? In today's video, I'm going to give you 7 different red flags that you should look for in the job interview process to help you determine, is this job offer worth accepting and do I want to work here? Because one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a candidate is accepting a job offer and working for a terrible company. All right, let's go. Now, the first major one you should look for is disengaged interviewers. So you're interviewing, you spend all this time, you prepare, you get there, you're focused, you're ready, you're in the game, and they're barely focused. They're not really paying attention. They're asking you duplicate questions because they didn't listen to you. Those are signs that maybe you don't want to work there, especially if it's a hiring manager. If it's a recruiter, that's one thing. But if you're actually talking about the hiring manager, the person you would report to, the person you would work with, the person who would be tasked with helping you grow and ascend within the organization, and they seem entirely disinterested, if you end up getting an offer from them, and during the interview, you ask yourself, does this hiring manager even want to be here? You should consider seriously not accepting that job offer, because working for that person, that might be a huge mistake. Another really big sign you need to watch for is if they downplay your answers and your accomplishments during the interview. So if you said, oh, I did this during my career, I was really proud of it, and they go, well, that's really not that big of a deal. That's not a huge scale, is it really? You don't want to work for that person. That is a huge red flag to me. If you give answers and they're downplaying it, you're talking about your accomplishments, they're downplaying it, they don't think what you've done is impressive, and they make you even feel bad about bringing up things you've done, and they make you feel like you are not worthy, you don't want to work for that person. I don't care how good the rest of the interview process is. I don't care how good the offer is. Working for that person who in that moment is willing to downplay the things you've done and make you feel bad about yourself and your accomplishments is always going to be a mistake. Hey, by the way, if you're finding value in this video, do me a favor, hit that like button. It's free, it tells YouTube that I don't suck, and it helps the channel a bunch. And if you're already willing to do that, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you never miss one of my 3 free weekly videos, all designed to help you nail your next interview and land your dream job. Now, if you applied for a job and you show up at the interview and the job that you applied for is not the one you're interviewing with, there's the old bait and switch and they now have you interviewing for a different role, that is a red flag. It's one thing for you to apply to a role and them go, you know what, I think you'd be a really good fit for this role. Are you interested in it? Totally different. But if they don't tell you, they make you go to the interview and then they go, oh yeah, it's a different role. That is incredibly inconsiderate because you probably spent time preparing for that role and interviewing for that role. And for them to make the call on your behalf without your consent is, again, incredibly inconsiderate. And it's probably not the kind of place you want to work if they go out and just make those decisions for you. If they're that anti-collaborative where they won't even inform you about a switch they're thinking of making, to me, that's entirely problematic. I probably wouldn't want to work in a place like that. Any job where there are over 4 interviews before you can get a job offer, to me is a bit of a red flag. Now, if you're executive level, C-suite, you're higher up, and there's a little bit more than that, okay, that's probably acceptable. But if you are someone who is entry level or mid-level and they're trying to meet with you 5, 6, 7 times, that's a bit of a red flag. What, you can't make your mind up? How many steps does there need to be? You're probably not the type of company who streamlines things and works efficiently. I would be incredibly apprehensive of moving forward with a company if the interview process is like 6 or 7 steps long. Big red flag to me. By the way, if you want to nail your next interview and you want to be the most prepared candidate as possible, linked in the description box is my full interview prep guide. It has customized interview videos that teach you exactly what you need to say. It has prep, it has templates, and basically everything you could ever need to be the best rockstar candidate possible. If they say things like, we are a family here, that makes me nervous. You're not a family, okay? You're not gonna spend Christmas together. You might have a Christmas party, you're not gonna spend Christmas together. If that was said to me in the interview process, I would go apply to other jobs. Because that's the type of language that really they only share when it's convenient for them. Companies say we're a family here, but then when it's time to reduce headcount, well, you don't downsize your family, do you? That type of language is insincere to me. And whenever they say something like that, it makes me wonder, what is this company culture like that they have to say things like this instead of realistic phrasings and realistic terminology? I mean, you can like your coworkers without needing to call them family. At the end of the day, it's really not a family. If a company gives you an unfair timeline in accepting an offer, that's like one of the biggest red flags I've ever seen, right? So they give you an offer, they go, okay, you have 4 hours to tell us. You have 1 day to tell us. That's unrealistic. Most people need to talk with a family member, need to talk to someone who is a mentor. They want to take time to compare the benefits. And why would a company rush you? You know, it is one thing if they go, hey, this needs to be back in, 4 days, 3 days. That's realistic because they don't want you shopping their offer around. That's fine. But if they give you a day or less, you have less than 24 hours to accept a job offer, that would make me feel like they are rushing you because they have something to hide. And if you do any more research on them, you might find out it's not such a great place to work. It's also an inconsiderate thing to do. And I wouldn't want to ever work for a place that gave me less than 24 hours to decide on an offer. A big red flag for me is if you're interviewing, things seem to be going great, they make you an offer, but the offer is lower than you thought. Right? They're lowballing you, but they are promising you in the future, we're going to be able to give you a big increase. Or down the line, you'll be compensated so much more, right? Lowballing, unacceptable. Promises of future increases, that feels insincere. If you're really going to pay me that much in the future, why is this offer so low? If they promise you more in the future and what they're giving you right now is much lower, that's a big issue. And quite frankly, you'll never have more leverage than you're the candidate right now they want to make an offer to. If you accept the job 6 months from now, what leverage do you have to get them to give you that more they promised you in the interview? Quite frankly, that's something that would really worry me, and I would never accept a role with a company if they gave me a lowball offer with the promise of much more at a later date. That, most of the time, that is a false promise. Another big red flag is if a company ghosts you in the interview process. You apply, you interview, and all of a sudden you don't hear from them. And this is actually pretty common. I made a whole video about it right here. And this video talks about everything you would ever need to know about being ghosted. It tells you about the stats, it tells you what to do, and it tells you, is it worth pursuing the company anymore? So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there.